So I just got done doing the voiceover in this video, and it's funny because my initial reaction is "ooh," and obviously you guys will watch it, and I appreciate you guys watching it. But it started off being about an hour long worth of footage, so there are quite a bit where I'm folding a lot, and folding's not exactly sexy, but it is what can help you run deep in a tournament. And you're going to see us in this have a few good hands and a few missteps, and I'll show you all of it. I mean, I appreciate your guys' feedback, first of all, telling me to do the colored graphics. I don't know why it took me this long to figure out this format, but this is the format that I am happiest with the most. I think it looks very sharp. So for those of you who are colorblind, I still put in the symbol there so that way you can easily see it. And hopefully you guys like it. I don't know why it took me this long, but I appreciate your guys' patience with this. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this format. These do take the longest to edit. Literally to edit an hour worth of footage, even before the voiceover, took me probably about 12 hours. And yeah, so because of that, hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscriber button, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. There's going to be, I probably said 4 because I have 2 hours or 2.5 hours more of footage, which means, of course, I make a pretty deep run in this tournament. You know, people prefer a comeback story more than I just took over the game and just crushed everybody. I will tell you, I did play some of my best poker and some of my worst poker on the final table. So hopefully, yeah, that'll be part 3 or part 4. I'll see if I can just sum it up into one more video, but I think it's going to be 2 more. But hopefully you guys like it. And starting in March, I'm going to start doing tournament-specific videos, like what would you play in Deuce to 7 triple draw in a tournament? What are some good starting hands and things like that? I'm planning on doing 2 of those per week. Back to the dry erase board coming up in March. But for the month of February, Wayne and I have some meetup games at the Venetian. We have a meetup game down here in February. We also have a meetup game in March. Oh my God, there's another meetup game in April. Plus, we're doing a 10-10 live stream on the Venetian, on Venetian Poker Live. Here's their tag right there. Plus, it's also going to be on Poker Go. So, but yeah, we're going to be doing a 10-10 live mix, so tune in to those. Also, don't forget to hit the sub for Venetian Poker Live. But yeah, hopefully you guys will like this video. And as always, play smart, run like a guy. Alrighty then, we are back from break. And due to the feedback that we got, we decided to go with everybody's recommendation, back to colors. So we looked down at 3 of diamonds, 7 of clubs, 8 of spades, 9 of hearts. We're in the low jack, level 17. We're going to end up mucking this one. So low jack, now we're in the mid, again, level 17. So the blinds are 4,000, 8,000, 8,000. I have about 325,000 coming back from break. Ace 364 with a suited ace. Now we end up folding this one. It's one I would play in a cash game, but not so much in a tournament. Tournament, we like hands like ace, king, queen. Oh my God, here we go. We look at ace, king, queen, deuce. Okay, this is, again, a hand that I might play if it's like super late, but not with 29 people left or 30 people left. Now we're down in the big blind. Again, level 17. You can see that on the right-hand side. The starting stack fluctuates. So most of the time it's correct. I get it as accurate as I can, but sometimes I just can't count, but because of the chips in the way and things like that. But we look down at deuce of clubs, 6 of spades, 8 of diamonds, 10 of diamonds. And let me know what you guys think about the new graphics and the new layout. Hopefully things will get a little bit better. But yeah, looking down at deuce of clubs, 6 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds, 10 of diamonds, the small blind ends up limping, so we're just going to check this one. We are heads up. We're in position. If the small blind checks, we're going to bet it. The flop comes king, king, 6, complete rainbow. Now, we have absolutely nothing, so we do not want to see a turn card. We have no draw. We have no showdown value. So we just put out a little 10K bet, and my opponent ends up mucking it, and we're going to pick this one up. Now, looking down at the next hand, we are in the small blind. We're going to look down at deuce of spades, 8 of spades, 3 of clubs, 7 of clubs. Now, you might say, Professor, this is a hand to play. Again, when you're in a tournament, your chips are very limited. Plus, I hate being out of position. So this is a hand that I am not going to play. I haven't looked down at the cards yet, but regardless of what the action is, even if it's heads up, I'm just going to fold it. I would recommend doing that with this hand. On the button, now we're on the button, and you can say we can play any 4 cards, but when you look down at like deuce 3, 6, queen with the 3, 6 of hearts, I'm just going to muck this hand. Now we're in the cutoff, and we're going to look down at deuce 6, 10, queen. Again, this is not a high quality hand, even though we're in late position. Just fold these. Now we're in the hijack. We are going to look down at ace 4, 6, 8 with the suited 8, 6 of clubs. This is almost playable. If the ace was a suited, I would play this, but even in semi-late position, this is a fold. So one thing I have noticed at this table is everybody's pretty passive. So we look down at 6, 7, 8, jack. Now, I'm not saying because everybody's passive that, you know, you can play a little bit of a wider range, but I do like a lot of middling cards. And the other thing that you can make an adjustment on is when you know everybody's being passive and you pick up hands with decent equity, it's okay to limp in some situations. And the reason why is because you're unlikely to get raised behind unless somebody has their hand pretty face up. The only challenge is when you limp, you end up going 4 ways to a flop. So there's a total of $40,000 in the pot. And when the flop's deuce, deuce, 5, this is not a hand that hits us whatsoever. Plus, we're 4 ways. So if we did take aggression on this and we raised pre and we got it heads up, that would signify we might have like aces or kings. But when we check to the button, the button decides to put out a wager. And when it gets back to us, we're just going to let this one go. Now we're in mid position. We look down at 7, 9, jack, king with 3 clubs in our hand. If we were double suited, we'd like it. We end up folding this one. Next, we're under the gun, and we look down at ace 4, 6, 8. If the ace was suited, this would be playable. Otherwise, we just fold. Now we're looking down. We're in the big blind, and we look down at ace, deuce, 3, jack. And everybody folds to us, and we get a walk. So now we're in the small blind. We're going to look down at queen, 5, 7, 9 with 3 diamonds in our hand. This is not a very good hand if your head's up against the big blind. We already have one person who decided to raise, so we're going to get out of this, refold. Now on the button, we're going to look down at 7, 10, jack, queen, complete rainbow. I do like this hand being on the button. Maybe I would play this in a cash game, but in a tournament, chips are limited, and we're going to muck this one. Well, your chips got healthy since I saw you last.
They did.
Down to 18. We're down to 18 players, and you can probably notice, Professor, what adjustments do you make when you're down to about 3 to 2 tables? You end up playing a lot tighter. So even when I'm in the cutoff and I look down at 3, 5, king, queen with a suited king, we're going to fold this one as well. Now, it's important to note a few things in this tournament. One, my goal was to make it to the final table and make it in a top 6, because I knew if I got 6th or better, I'd be even for my trip. So finishing 6th or 5th, I was going to be okay with, so I was trying to put myself in that best position. 4, 5, 9, 10 in the hijack, we end up folding this one. You might ask yourself, Professor, if you were up like 10K on this trip, would you have played this tournament a little bit differently? If I told you no, I'd probably be lying to you. In this tournament, I was absolutely determined to get to the final table. We look down at deuce, deuce, 3, jack. We're going to fold this in the load. Figured, let's get to the final table, then we'll make some assessments there to put ourselves in a position to at least get 6 so we could be break even for the trip. No one likes going down to Miami for 2 weeks and being stuck in a trip. Trust me, it's not fun. You go home to your wife and or your spouse and you're like, yeah, honey, I worked for 2 weeks and I lost a couple $1,000s. They call me a professional. In any case, we're in the big blind and we look down at 5, 8, jack, king with the suited jack high diamonds. Let me know what you guys think about the new graphics, but in this situation, since it was checked to us, we checked. So we're going to go heads up to a flop. So heads up to a flop, and the flop is going to come out, oh my, king, king, 6. So I'm sitting here going, wow, how much can I get out of this guy? So I'm going to slow play it. He checks to me, I check behind. Turn is a 5. Ooh, I love this turn. He checks to me, I check again. I'm really slow playing this as much as I can. River comes a 7 of hearts. My opponent sitting there. He checks. I'm got to get some value. I bet $15,000. And my opponent ends up calling with a straight. So Because we slow played this, we were able to squeeze 15K worth of chips out of them. Sometimes on really passive tight tables, you just got to be a little tricky with it to try just building as many chips as you can. We look down on the small blind with a starting stack of about 320, 325, somewhere around there, at deuce 4, 7, jack, double suited. Now, because it is double suited, you could make the argument to play for it, but you're never really drawing to the nuts here, so this is a hand that you just fold. Alright, so I know what you guys are asking. How tight are you going to play on the button, Professor? So I'm on the button. The gentleman across the table from me opens under the gun to a full pot size raise. Now, he has been playing incredibly tight, so his range is extremely narrow, especially since he's under the gun. I'm putting him on something like aces or kings. So I want to look down at a hand that has some kind of rundown like 7, 8, 9, 10. But when you look down at ace, king, 7, 8, and it's not suited in any way, shape, or form, that plays really poorly against aces or kings. And this is a situation he opened full pot under the gun, showing too much strength. You should fold this one. Now, let me know if this hand surprises you guys. I'm sure it will surprise quite a few of you, but yeah, it goes right into the muck. Now we're down on the cutoff, and we're going to look down at deuce, 7, 8, king with the suited king. This is another hand that just goes right into the muck. So now we're in the hijack, and we are going to look at a hand that I do like to open, but it does not play very well against 3-bets unless somebody's SPR, stack to pot size ratio, justifies it. And this is not something that I'd recommend doing too often in a tournament, but it's the first rundown hand I've had to look at today. I love rundowns. They're my favorite type of hands. 4, 5, 6, 7. I decide to open. I opened for 25,000. I'm in the hijack, so I do have position. You know, at this point, I'm okay with taking down the blinds. This table has been very passive, so there's a good chance that I'll just take down the blinds right off the get-go. But instead, we have the big blind that decides to defend, and I'm just thinking that's fine as long as I have some kind of equity. Flop comes 9 of spades, 10 of hearts, queen of hearts. We completely miss this flop. A big blind defending, and then just leading out with a pot size bet here for over 50K. I'm just going to let this one go. Well, that didn't work out. Now we're in the low jack, and we look down at ace 4, 7, 8 with just a suited 7, 4 diamonds. This, we're just going to let go. Now, we ended up having a player move in between the big blind and us, so we're going to have the unique situation of being under the gun multiple times. But we look down at deuce 3, 9, jack. Very low cards, very low quality. We end up folding this one. Our next under the gun position, again, we're still at level 17. We look down at 5, 7, 10 king with the 10, 7 of clubs. This is a fold. I know it's a little boring late in a tournament to just be folding nonstop, but hands like 4, 6, 8, 9, all the hearts, fold. Again, this is the longest type of format. I'm showing you every single hand in a tournament. So finally, we're in the big blind for 10,000. We're on level 18, so the blinds have gone up 5,000, 10,000, 10,000. Gentleman who's under the gun +1 decides to raise to 25,000. And yeah, we're going to look down at deuce 5, 6, king. There's another player who calls, but this does not play well multi-way, so we're just going to end up folding this. And let me know what you guys would have done in that situation. I mean, it would have been another 15,000 to, I guess, go for about 80K. I just don't like that hand. In tournaments, your chips are limited, so you really want to protect them. So here in the small blind, this is a pretty decent hand here. 4, 6 of spades, 7, 10 of diamonds. So we are double suited. We have lots of equity to hit lots of different straights here. And we also have some blockers too. So this is a hand that I'm willing to play even when somebody does open. You know, even though the table has been passive, you can't just sit there the whole time and you know, not defend anything. And with 5 and 10K blinds, we have about 27 bigs. So, you know, we can call this. We end up limping. No one ends up raising, but we are going to go multi-way to the flop. So there's going to be 4 of us going to the flop. I'm first act. Flop comes 10, 8, 3. So we flop top pair, a gut shot straight draw, backdoor spades, backdoor diamonds. I check. I'm not really sure if somebody bets here if I would call. I think folding would be a little too tight here. So I think if somebody bets here, I'm going to call, but not when somebody bets full pot. Full pot's a little too much, so we fold. full pot just signifies a set or like top two pair at worst with some redraws. On the button, we look down at 3, 6, 9, 10. We're just going to end up folding this when it gets around to us. So now we're in the cutoff. Again, level 18, blinds are 5,000, 10,000, and 10,000. We still have around 27 bigs. We do look down at 7, 10, Jack, King. Now, some of you, I will tell you this, if somebody raises ahead of me, I'm real likely to fold hands like this, depending on who they are. If they min raise, then I'll call. But when it folds to me, I decide to open for, I believe it was 22, 23,000. Big blind's going to defend, so we're going to go heads up to the flop. And, oh, wait, he decides to re-raise. Well, that sucks. I think he makes it 88,000. Yeah, we're done with this hand. This hand does not play well versus, you know, a 3-bet. I mean, he's got like 12,000 behind. I always like to think about these situations, but I opened up to 23 and he pops it to 84. So, yeah, I fold. I mean, trust me, this does not make for like a sexy video here when all you keep seeing is me folding. But, I mean, sometimes you just run into it. And here I look down at kings with the suited king. King, king, 4, 7, king, 4 of spades. And again, this is a hand I'm going to open. Now, I decide to open for 40,000. I have one person who limps, signifying a $40,000 bet signifies that I have a really strong hand, like kings or aces. I want everybody to get out of the way. They haven't seen me open for a full pot-size bet. And again, sometimes in tournaments, in order to make deep runs, sometimes it's finding your fold. And I hate to say that, but when the guy reaches for all of his blues and he puts it right out there and he does a full pot-size bet over the top of me for like 160,000, I am throwing up. I'm like, oh, if I call here, I have like 50,000. So I have to basically decide my tournament life at this point. I really don't like it. I don't. And again, this isn't the sexiest video in the world where I'm like, I'm just going up against it. You know, like, I'd love to show you guys some sexy hands where I make calls. I mean, I do think about it. I think about the pot odds. You know, the dealer puts out the proper bet, but it's just still way too much. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. Obviously, I think the guy had aces. But yeah, this goes in the muck. Ugh, that just sickens me. I'm down to about 18 big blinds now, with the blinds being 5 and 10,000. But 18 big blinds is still enough to move around. So, but when I look down here in the low jack with 4, 5, jack, king, this is a fold. Now we're in middle position, and we're going to look down at ace 7, 8, 9 with the suited ace. This hand plays really well heads up. This hand even plays well on a 3-bet hand. And we have been bleeding some chips here. We do want to pick up some chips. So I like to go ahead and open. I open up to, it looks like $30,000. And we're going to pick up the blinds. Every little bit helps. Now we're under the gun, and we look down at ace 4, 9, 10. Now, because the ace is not suited in this situation, we end up folding. Now we're under the gun, and we're going to look down at 3, 7, 8, jack. I like this hand if I'm on the button, but under the gun, I don't want to bet and then get 3-bet, so we end up folding. We're in the big blind, and we get another walk. I love seeing when we get a walk. We actually had a pretty decent hand here, but yeah, we get a walk. I'll take it. Now we're in the small blind, and we look down at 3, 5, 7, 10. Even if this is heads up, I don't like this hand. You don't have much equity, but with somebody else calling, we're just going to fold this one. Now, here's a shocker for you. I'm sitting here on the button. We're going to look down at a suited ace. And again, tighter is righter when you're down to like the last 18 people or so in a pot limit Omaha tournament. So I look down at ace of diamonds, deuce of diamonds, 8 of hearts, 9 of spades, and somebody's already opened. Now, this is an okay hand to play in a cash game, and if it folded to me, I'd probably open. But when somebody opens, this is not going to play very, very well in a tournament. It's the difference between being the aggressor and being the one who's calling. When you're in a Parliament Omaha tournament, being the aggressor signifies more strength. You don't want to be calling off too much. So even suited aces, I will fold on the button, which is what I end up doing. Oh my God, I can see it in the comments now. Professor folds his way to the final table. I mean, that might be like part 3, but queen, deuce, 6, 7. Again, this is another fold. Again, these are hands that are just going to get you in trouble. And when you're sitting there with about 20 bigs, which is what I'm sitting there with, you don't want to get involved in too many hands. If I had 50 bigs, maybe I'd mix it up a little bit. But here we just got to play a little bit tighter because of our stack size. 3, 4, 5 queen, fold. Now, I know what some of you are saying, Professor, so you do play according to your stack size in tournaments. Of course, especially in position. If I had the huge stack, I could be a little bit of a bully. Maybe we'll see that before the end of the video. But when we look down again, deuce, 5, 9, jack, and the low jack, this is just an open fold. All right, now we're in middle position, and we're going to look down at a pretty decent hand starting. Particularly, even though the ace isn't suited, the king ends up being suited in this one. So we're going to look down at ace-king, and when you have ace-king in tournaments, it plays a lot more like Hold'em than it does in PLO 5-6, because you do get a lot of ace-x's that'll end up calling you. So ace-king later on in tournaments does become a little bit stronger down the road. So we decide to open this up in mid-position. We open it up to, I believe, 25,000, and in this situation, we're going to get at least one caller. It looks like we might get 2 callers here, and let's see what happens. But I don't mind playing this multi-way. I mean, if the flop's ace-x-x, we're going to have some good equity here. If there's spades, obviously, we're going to have some good equity there. And maybe I only made it 20,000, but I know we are definitely going to go see a flop here. And, yeah, this is just me being a little bit more aggressive. With ace-king. The flop comes 4-7 jack. We do flop an open-ended straight draw. We do have 2 overs. We do have backdoor spades. And so on this board, we're not going to go anywhere. I mean, if an 8 comes and somebody has 9-10, that's really going to suck. But in this situation, when my opponent opens for 30,000 or 35,000, I'm going to call. The reason why is I have about a 1.5 to 1 SPR. So if I do hit the turn, I don't think he's going to go anywhere. If he flops something like a set of jacks or a set of 7s or a set of 4s, being in position, I can call to see a turn card, and if I hit, we can get it all in. Now we're actually going to go 3 ways to the turn. So there's 143,000. Oh my God, the turn's my gin card. It's the 3 of hearts. I'm just sitting here going, I hope he fires at it. I have about a 1-to-1 SPR. If he fires anything at this pot, we're obviously just going to raise him because right now we have the stone cold nuts. He decides to check, and well, when he checks, I like to do one thing, and that's just bet pot. I mean, I turn the nuts. I'm putting him on a set of jacks here. I'm okay with a call, and I'm thinking he's probably got a set here because he looks like he does not like that pot size bet. You know, he's going in the tank. And when he starts going in the tank, I'm just like, please call, please call. So eventually he just says, what the heck? He's all in. And of course, with the stone cold nuts, I'm not going to go anywhere. So let's turn him over and see what we have to sweat.
See what we got to sweat.
We got a bigger straight draw.
We need a low.
There we go to the river.
Low. Straight.
Looks like this straight is held up here.
Yep,
so
straight.
see.
Whew, that was a lot to dodge. Well, we did have 77% going into the river. Under the gun, now we have a huge stack, deuce, 3, 4, queen fold. So, yeah, now we have a little bit more chips that we can play with. Not that we're going to be looking to play with chips, but the fact that we have them will help our cause just a little bit. Now in this situation, we're in the big blind. The blinds are 6, 12, and 12. Somebody already opened pot. Somebody called. We're going to look down at 3, 4, king, queen. I don't want to be splashy with hands like this. Not against the bet and the call, and then we're out of position. We fold. Again, blind levels are up, but now we do have quite a few big blinds. We have like, I don't know, 35, 40 big blinds, somewhere around there, like 37. 460K in the starting stack. But again, in the small blind, deuce 4, 10, jack with the suited 10. This is an easy fold. All right, now that we're sitting with 35 bigs, we're looking to start crushing our opponents. We want to pick up hands just like this one, 4, 5, 7, 8. We love rundown hands, and we're on the button. This is a hand that plays very well multi-way, plays well heads up, plays good in 3-bet pots. Gentleman decides to open for 25,000. So again, blind level 6, 12, and 12. And the next player who's in the hijack here, he decides to call. Well, I have 2 choices here. I can either raise and 3-bet. The guy to my right who just called has 60K left, so I just decide to call as well. I'm in position, and the button decides to call, or not the button, but the big blind decides to call, and I'm in position so I can just evaluate what's going to happen post-flop, especially with a rundown like this. I mean, if I hit the flop, great, let's run with it. Otherwise, if I completely miss it, I can just easily lay it down. So now we're on the button. We're going, looks like it's 4 ways to the flop. And we're going to see what happens here on the flop. The flop comes out, oh my, it's the Queen of Diamonds, 5 of Hearts, 6 of Hearts. So here we are, multi-way in a pot with a complete wrap. I mean, we have 4, 7, 8 on a 5, 6 board. Now, there are hearts out there, so I'm never going to get rid of this hand. I'm not going to fold even if somebody does a pot-size bet. Matter of fact, when I see this flop, I'm thinking, I'm on the button, I have position. If somebody does a full pot-size bet, I'm just going to run with it. The first player who's in the big blind decides to check. The second player is short stacked and has less than a half of a pot size bet, but he decides to check as well. Now we get back to the original raiser, and the original raiser decides to bet $50,000. So he's betting 50K into a 118K pot. Now this is where being on the button has a huge advantage. I mean, obviously I can just rip it here. I have enough equity, or I can just call and play it safe. I like to call and play it safe. I am on the button. I don't see any need to blow up the pot in case the gentleman does have a set, or if he has a heart. I just want to peel one off, see if I can get there on the turn. We have a ton of equity here. Let me know what you guys would do in this situation. Would you have just ripped it? Guy in the big blind ends up folding, and the guy behind, in between us, he is a shorter stack. He decides to rip it all in for the last remaining of his chips. So we are going to end up going 3 ways to the turn. The dealer's got to figure out what the side pot is, and you can see right there, there's about 30,000 in the side. So we're going 3 ways to the turn. Most of the money's in the main, and lo and behold, the turn comes a 9 of diamonds. That is my gin. Now the original raiser jams all in, and we snap call.
We need black. We need black. Black. Black and low. Black and low. Black and low.
Well, it doesn't put us out of the tournament, but that was over a 350K pot, so it does hurt our chip stack a little bit. Sometimes in a tournament, you just have to be like a quarterback, just forget that you threw the interception. We look down at King, Queen, Jack, Deuce in the cutoff, and this one we're just going to fold. Our chip stack's down to 232. I know everybody likes a good comeback story versus just, oh, I opened, I crushed it, I hit it all the time. You guys like to see the struggle. That's basically what this video is about. Getting a big stack and then getting it struggled with the rundown hand. And hey, what do you know? We look down at 7, 8, 9, 10, complete rainbow, but we're in the hijack, and we like this hand. So obviously this is something that we are going to go see a flop with. We decided to raise, but everybody decides to fold to us, so we actually pick up the blinds, and we're okay with that. But I love these rundown hands because they're very hidden. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty. We're almost there to the final table, and we're in the low jack, and we look down at ace, 3, 4, jack, complete rainbow. As you can see right there, there's only 14 left. And my apologies on putting out that last video without the colorful graphics. They are just way better, but we fold this one. Well, as you can see, the struggle is real, but we do look down at a hand when we're down to 14 and they're 7-handed on each table. You do want to open it up just a little bit more. Blinds are 6,000, 12,000. We look down at ace, 6, 9, 10 with a suited ace. Now, I don't like the fact that there's 3 hearts. If this was full 9-handed, I'd probably fold this one. But the fact that we're down to 7, this is going to play a little bit stronger. So when I open, we end up getting a call. And I'm sitting there going, all right, that's perfectly fine by me. Just, flop me something I can play with. Flop me a strong hand. Plus, the person who called me, I've got position on them. So if they show any type of passivity, I'm probably going to pounce on this. Flop is king 10-7 with 2 spades. We have backdoor hearts. Don't like it. We have a gut shot. I don't like it. And we have the middle pair. I don't like it. So for all those reasons, I bet. Sometimes when you bet, you just have to not like it. Now, I bet half pot. I do this as a semi-bluff. I still have some kind of equity. But I also do it so I can control the pot because my opponent has about a 1-to-1 SPR left. Now, I'm planning if the turn does not put a spade out there, I'm just going to bomb the turn if he shows another check. Turn comes a 6, so now I do have 2 pair and a gut shot, and I really don't like it, but I beat hands like Ace, 10, Jack, Queen, or 9, Jack, King, Queen, even though I don't like that hand. But I beat hands with that have a combo draw, like a pair and a straight draw, or a pair and a flush draw. So you know what? I got to do full pressure here. I go a full pot size bet, 138,000. We're down to 7 players on each table. I'm putting the pressure on.
It looks like sometimes full pressure works, and he ends up folding this one. We pick up a nice size pot.
Well, we are definitely going to be fighting for some pots here. I mean, we are shorthanded, down to 14. But we are going to play a little tight, but we are going to open up our range a little bit. If we sense weakness, we're just going to pounce on it. But when I'm in the big blind and I look down at 4, 7, 9, Jack, the small blind decides to full pot size into me, and I just end up folding this one. It's important to pick your battles, and even though I'd have position, I just don't like it when he opens for full pot. Now in the small blind, we're going to look down at 3, deuce, 6, Jack with 3 diamonds. Not a good quality hand. Even if everybody folds to me, I don't like it, but we're just going to muck this one. Now we're on the button, and we look down at 3, 5, 7, Jack with the suited Jack. This is an easy fold. I mean, there ends up being a lot of folds here, but this is the way tournaments are. 4, 5, 8, King in the cutoff, muck. In the hijack with deuce, 4, 5, Jack with the suited Jack. Again, this is an easy muck. Now, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. This was over an hour and like 20 minutes total footage that I had to narrow it down to. And, sometimes as a card player, you just go with your read, and sometimes you can be wrong about your read. We look down at 3, 10, King, King. Now, there's something I do here is I open for, I believe, the min raise. So it's 6, 12, 12 levels. I opened to 25. Almost looking back, maybe I should have just opened for full pot size bet because I had pocket kings. Not sure that would change anything here, though. But I get one caller. It happens to be the big blind. His range should be the widest of ranges. Yeah, we're going to end up going... you can see the small blind ends up folding. So we're going to go heads up to a flop. And the flop's ace, ace, 9. Now, I don't mind this flop too much. I'm not in love with it, but when my opponent checks, I just decide to bet 20,000. I'm partly betting for value. I'm partly betting because he should fold out pretty much anything out here. It looks weak. It looks like I might have an ace, and he's going to go ahead and call. He goes in the tank for a little bit, and maybe my spidey senses should have gone off when he was going in the tank for a little bit. I know when he calls, I'm not in love with it. When I see the deuce of clubs, I'm sitting here going, well, I don't really like the deuce of clubs either. And then he does something that was not expected at all. He leads. He leads for $43,000. I don't know. You're allowed to make missteps. Let me tell you, this is one of them right here. But let me know, what do you guys think he has? The way I look at it is I'm like, God, he's betting less than half pot. He's betting 40% pot. Would he be doing this with an ace? I'm like, maybe he just picked up a club draw. I saw him make a few calls before when the boards were paired and he was drawing to like a flush, and I'm thinking maybe that's what he's doing. I don't have the king of clubs in my hand. Believe it or not, if I had the king of clubs in my hand, I'm probably way more likely to fold. I don't know why the that entered my brain, but I just decided to punt off, and here we go. We're putting money in the pot when I'm thinking he's just got a club draw. River's a 4 of spades, and I'm thinking, well, club's bricked out, and I still beat like hands like queens. I do lose to an ace, and I'm like, he's only got like 60,000 left. Now everybody's on break, and I'm thinking, I think I got to call if he bets here. I mean, if I put him on clubs and I think he's got clubs, if he bets, I got to call here, right? So he bets 60,000. Oh, I'm in the blender right here. I mean, a part of me is like, maybe he did a desperation all in, because there's been times in tournaments somebody's just desperately, I've got 5 bigs, I'm just going to put it into basically a 16 big pot, hoping my opponent folds. And ultimately, that's going through my brain right now. I'm going through my brain. I'm like, I don't have the king of clubs. And maybe he just bet 60,000 into a $200,000 pot, 5 bigs into that, and that's really going through my brain. And the fact that he just bet 43,000 on the turn. I don't know. Kudos to him, because I'm not going to win this hand no matter what. But I end up going with my gut instinct. Sometimes you go with your gut and your gut's wrong. And he turns over pocket nines. Now I have to show because he's all in, but yeah, we end up losing. He flopped a full house, and he played it as good as he could. I don't know, I'm stuck at 164 right now. There's 13 left. I guess you could say I blew up there with King, 10, 3. I mean, honestly, it's a hand that I almost folded free, and then I min raised, and I think what I should have just done is just came in for full pot. So, I mean, blinds are going to be 10, 15. Literally, I'm going to have 11 bigs. They took 160 away from me. So we were at like 320 before that hand. Crippled our stack. Just went with the gut read. So good hand on him. But yeah, 13 left. First place is like 21. We got like 1,500 locked up. Need at least 6 to break even for the trip. So we're almost to goal 2, which is final table. So let's recoup and play smart.